Welcome. Today I want to discuss my experience with Datura Stramonium, or Jimson weed as it's more commonly known. This experience was induced through the topical use of an oil, and it had gone on my finger because of the cap being broken, and I decided instead of washing it off to allow it to be a test for how strong the oil was. I didn't feel anything for the first couple of hours and assumed that it was just too little to even feel until I went to sleep. When I was asleep, I was instantly brought into an extremely vivid dream. I was driving with an old friend, Jake, and we had gotten to the base of this mountain. We were driving through the forest, and through the trees there was this just sudden rocks going straight up. And we got out of the car, it was a nice red car, and we just started climbing up the rocks. And it was fun at first, until suddenly I went to step up on one rock, and it was super slippery, and I almost fell. And when I was looking back, I was realizing that it would just suddenly dropped off, which was a little confusing because how did we get up there if it's dropping off that much? But we keep going up, and suddenly we're on the roof of a building. And there's a ledge, and it looks like you can jump around to other roofs. Almost like if you've ever watched parkour videos from like Team Farang, where they're in Bangkok, and there's the buildings are kind of close to each other, and you can almost jump from one roof to another. That's kind of what it looked like. But I remember I had kind of a bad feeling because it was dark out, and I didn't know how we had even gotten onto a building. And suddenly Jake jumps up trying to land on the railing, and he kind of stumbled a bit and fell off the edge. And I see him starting to fall, and I turn away because it was too much for me to look at. And I just heard like boom, this impact on the ground. It almost sounded like a little bit like a wet impact. When I started to look down, I could see two people who were kind of standing on a roof a couple of stories below on another building, and they were looking out kind of further away towards my left in front of me. When I looked there, I could see like Jake on the ground with blood surrounding him like a puddle, and it was so just shocking and confusing. I started looking around. I was trying to see some kind of a sign that was a trick or anything. I just wanted to have something show that this wasn't real. And I woke up very briefly, very, very briefly, and almost like a trance. I noticed that I saw the lights on, so I must have fallen asleep without even kind of catching myself. And so I quickly turned off the light and went right back to sleep. It was almost like I had to do it. And when I was back in for the second dream, it instantly started up. It didn't take me any time to get back into sleep. I was suddenly like a child again, maybe around 8 years old, and I was being held captive in this large house with two of my friends, and there was my mom and my other friend's mom, and there was one other woman who I didn't recognize, but she was a mother in the dream. And we would be going around the house, and we'd have to be walking with the adults, and it was really just, there was a feeling that we shouldn't be there, and we had to try to find a train and escape. And one day we were walking in this alleyway, and we were supposed to go to the store, and there was a baby with its legs snapped the wrong way at the knee, and it was all bloody, and it was crying. And this dog came, and he started to eat the baby after it died. And it was just, but then suddenly my brother came, and he was angry, and he was telling me, "Why did you not help the baby? Why didn't you help it?" And I was telling him I couldn't. The dog was too big, and I was afraid. And he just starts attacking me, and I felt the physical pain of like a headlock and punches to the head and my hair being pulled, and it was terrifying. And suddenly when I opened my eyes again, I was then inside of this room in this building, and there was barely any lights, and we get out of the hallway, and there is this woman who used to be my nanny, and she was there, and she's telling me, "You've got to go meet back up with your mom. She's outside the train station." And so I go there, and me and my two friends, who were also the kids then, we're standing there, and we're at the train, and we're trying to get ready to escape, but they bring us back. When we get to the house again, they put my one friend in the room, and I just started to run up the stairs. And It was weird. I didn't feel any slow motion. It felt like I was actually running. I could feel myself breathing heavier if I ran too fast. And I finally started to make it up the stairs, and I started to run down because it suddenly felt like I was just exercising. And then I realized I should go to the top of the stairs. And when I did, there was this weird room. And I suddenly realized that it was a dream, though. And that's when I woke up. And so it was lucid dream towards the end, but overall, I feel it was a pretty dark, but must have been some kind of meanings to a dream induced by the Jimson weed. I believe the spirit of the plant had something to do with it. And so, despite the fact that I wish it were to not have been such a gruesome and terrifying dream, I am respectful of the lessons. Thank you for listening. I'll be recording more trip reports and putting them on here. My first two are on Salvia divinorum, which are already up, and in a few hours you can catch my video discussing the first time I ever used any kind of psychedelic, and that was when I was laced with PCP in a blunt. So check those out, and I'll be having a more serious video coming up later this week.